All right, welcome to NFL Nexus. You know, in the world of the NFL, information is everything, right? It's currency. Teams are masters at controlling the narrative, putting out these carefully crafted statements, and really limiting access. But what happens when a rare, totally unfiltered source of truth just vanishes? Well, this offseason, that's exactly what's happening. And the Indianapolis Colts are finding themselves smack dab in the center of a perfect storm. We're talking about an unprecedented change in leadership colliding with some huge, franchise-altering roster decisions, and it's all going down behind a brand-new, league-mandated veil of secrecy. So let's dive in and break down how one single decision has put this historic franchise in a really vulnerable and uncertain spot.
But first, just think about this for a second. When you really want to know what's going on with your favorite team, and I'm not talking about the box score or, the sanitized coach speak you hear from the podium. I mean the real, day-to-day reality for the players. The culture in that building, the quality of the facilities, how they really feel about the front office. Where do you even look for that kind of info? For the last few years, the NFL Players Association actually gave us a surprisingly honest answer, a direct window right into the locker room. And now, well, that window has been slammed shut.
And that brings us right to the core of the issue, the big event that really sets the stage for everything else we're about to get into. A really unique tool for transparency across the entire league, a genuine look into how all 32 franchises operate, has just been pulled from public view. And look, this isn't just some small procedural tweak, it's a fundamental shift in the balance of information and power between the players, the owners, and yeah, us, the fans.
So what was this tool? Well, it was the NFLPA report cards. And for those of you who followed them, man, they were fascinating. Every single year, the Players Association would send out this league-wide, completely anonymous survey. And they ask players to grade their own teams on a whole range of stuff that truly defines a player's quality of life. We're talking about the little things that are actually the big things. The quality of the food in the cafeteria. And remember, for these guys, nutrition is literally fuel. They graded how the team handles travel. Do players have to get a roommate on the road, or are they crammed onto flights? They graded the training staff, the weight room, family services, and maybe most importantly, they got to anonymously grade the team's owner. It was a direct, unfiltered pipeline to what the guys in that locker room were really thinking.
And just like that, poof, they're gone. The league office recently won a grievance against the NFLPA, and the result is that these report cards will no longer be public. Now, they might still happen internally for the union, but for us, for fans, for the media, even for prospective free agents looking for a new team, that annual peek behind the curtain is officially over. That raw, honest player feedback has been put back in the shadows. And while this move impacts every single team, it puts one franchise in a uniquely difficult and, frankly, pretty precarious position.
And that brings us right to our main focus today, the Indianapolis Colts. For them, this isn't just some abstract loss of transparency. This league-wide news rips open a massive accountability vacuum at the exact moment they need that scrutiny the most. Seriously, the timing could not possibly be worse, as they're trying to navigate one of the most significant transitions in the entire history of their franchise.
To really get the weight of this, you have to understand this timeline. For decades, the Colts were led by Jim Irsay. And love him or hate him, he was one of the most public-facing, outspoken owners in all of sports. You always knew where he stood. Well, following his tragic passing this offseason, the franchise has stepped into a completely new era. Ownership has been passed down to his 3 daughters. This is their first full offseason running the show. Just think about that for a second. A monumental leadership change from a single, famous, very hands-on owner to a new ownership group, and it's all happening right now. It's a huge defining moment.
Now, here's what's so critical. This is the last public report card the Colts will ever get. This is the final data point, and honestly, it paints a picture of a workplace that had a lot of room for improvement under the old regime. A C for food, ranking 25th in the league. That's not just about a bad lunch. It signals that the team isn't investing at a top level in their players' performance. But even worse is team travel, a D+, 27th in the league. Come on, that affects sleep, prep, recovery, all critical to winning games. Even Jim Irsay himself only got a B grade, 20th among all owners. This was the starting line, the clear baseline from which the new ownership would have been publicly judged.
So here's the kicker. This is it. This is the final report. There will be no public grade for the new ownership group. There is no way for anyone on the outside, not fans, not the media, not even other players, to know if Carly, Kalen, and Casey are fixing these areas or if things are getting worse. Are they investing in the facilities? Are they building a player-first culture? We will never see how this massive leadership change is actually being felt by the people who matter most, the players. The main tool for public accountability has just been taken away.
So you have this huge off-field uncertainty, and it's happening at the exact same time a brand new, very pressing on-field problem is coming to a head. It's not just about who's running the team anymore, it's about who's going to be on the team. Key defensive players are about to hit the wild world of free agency, and it's creating a whole new layer of instability for a franchise that desperately needs some stability right now.
So let's meet the two players at the center of this storm. On one side, you have safety Nick Cross, and on the other, defensive end Kwity Paye. These two guys represent a huge crossroads for the new front office. Cross is that young, ascending talent, a guy who has way outperformed his draft spot to become a reliable starter. Paye, well, he's the former first-round pick, a premium asset with a much more complicated and frankly inconsistent resume. Both are now unrestricted free agents, and the decisions made about them will be the first major test for this new ownership.
Let's start with Nick Cross. To really understand what he means to that Colts defense, you just have to look at this one number, 266. That's his total tackle count over the last 2 seasons. The guy has been an absolute tackling machine, just a heat-seeking missile on the back end of that defense. In today's NFL, with offenses spreading you out, having a safety who can reliably come downhill and make tackles in space isn't a luxury, it's a flat-out necessity, and he has been a constant, dependable force for them.
But here's the dilemma, and this quote from Fox Sports nails it. The Colts have other, maybe bigger names and more expensive free agents they have to think about. The analysis points out something really important. Cross has been good under 2 different defensive coordinators. That's a huge green flag, right? It shows his talent isn't just tied to one system. And yet, the fact that he won't break the bank creates this weird paradox. Because he's affordable, it might actually make him expendable if the team decides they have to pour all their money into a different position.
And this slide really breaks down why he's going to be such a hot commodity for every other team. I mean, look at that 2024 season. 146 tackles is a monster number for a safety, plus you get 3 interceptions. He's only 24 years old, which means his best football is still ahead of him. His projected contract is right in that sweet spot where it's affordable for almost any team. And then, you see it, listed right there as a potential suitor, the division rival Tennessee Titans. And why them specifically? Because their defensive coordinator is Gus Bradley, the former Colts DC who knows exactly what Nick Cross can do.
And trust me, that threat of a division rival poaching your talent is not just limited to Nick Cross. The situation with our other key free agent, Kwity Paye, is even more complex, it's way more expensive, and it could also end with a bitter rival getting a whole lot stronger, directly at the Colts' expense. Yeah, the connections to Tennessee run pretty deep here too.
This is the number that just defines the entire conversation around Kwity Paye. $17.8 million. Let that sink in for a second. That's his projected annual market value according to the salary cap gurus at SpotTrack. We're not talking about chump change. That is top-tier money for a defensive end. So the question for the Colts' new leadership isn't just, hey, do we want Kwity Paye back? It's, is he worth nearly $18 million a year? That is a massive, massive financial commitment for a player whose production has been a bit of a roller coaster.
And if you're a Colts fan, the expert consensus on this one is not what you want to hear. This quote from an analyst at Sports Illustrated is pretty blunt. Paye is not expected back with the Colts. And then, there it is again. The same name, the same team. That potential reunion with Gus Bradley and the Tennessee Titans. You know, when you see smoke coming from multiple different places, all pointing to the exact same fire, you got to start paying attention. The dots here are not very hard to connect.
This slide really just breaks down the whole headache for Indianapolis. As the 21st overall pick, the hope was that Paye would be a game-wrecking pass rusher. But the production has just been all over the place. He showed huge promise with 16.5 sacks over 2 seasons, but then last year that number dropped off a cliff to just 4 sacks. Now he's known as a really good run defender, and that has value for sure, but teams pay that $18 million price tag for quarterback sacks. And to make it all worse, 2 of their other key defensive ends are also free agents. The Colts could be looking at a total teardown and rebuild of their defensive line, and it's looking more and more likely that Paye, the guy who is supposed to be a cornerstone, won't be a part of it.
Okay, so let's tie these 2 critical threads together now. On one hand, you've got a brand new ownership group and a new front office, and they're operating for the first time without that public check and balance of player feedback. And on the other hand, that exact same front office is facing immediate, high-stakes decisions on key players who could very well end up playing for their biggest rival. This really is the perfect storm for the Colts. The new ownership is about to make huge roster and money decisions that will define the start of their tenure, but they're going to get zero public accountability from the players on how they're managing the franchise and its culture. There's no public pressure to improve those C&D plus grades we saw earlier, And at the exact same time, the fan base is looking at the very real possibility of having to watch two key homegrown defenders, Nick Cross and Kwity Paye, suit up for the Tennessee Titans twice a year. Ouch.
And this whole situation in Indianapolis really forces us to zoom out and ask a much bigger question that now applies to the entire league. For years, the NFLPA report cards, for all their flaws, they did provide a small but vital public check on the incredible power of NFL owners. Now that they're gone, you just have to wonder who's left to hold them truly accountable. What do you guys think? Is this a major loss for players and fans, or was it all just inside noise? Let us know what you think down in the comments below. And if you found this explainer insightful, please do us a huge favor and smash that like button. And of course, make sure you subscribe to NFL Nexus for more deep dives into the stories that are shaping the league. And hey, before you go, a quick note that you can help support the channel by purchasing one of our custom coloring books. They're perfect for kids, grandkids, or even for yourself if you need to relax. You can find them by using the link in the description or by just scanning the QR code on your screen now. Thanks for watching.